Longhorn fans, Sooner Nation, welcome to episode 15 of the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas, the University of Oklahoma. This is the Bevo Podcast. Kevin, you played the University of Alabama yesterday.
Yes.
And I want to warn our viewers. Of something. Viewers, listeners, Sooner fans, Texas fans, you're going to hear a lot today from the guy in the orange shirt. All right? You're going to hear a lot about what could have been, what should have been, bad calls, bad breaks. You're going to hear about a dropped Xavier Worthy pass in the end zone. You're going to hear about a no pass interference call in the end zone. You're going to hear about Quinn Ewers, the number one recruit, breaking his collarbone. You're going to hear about a missed field goal at the end of the second quarter. You're going to hear about a mysterious, inexplicable non-safety call on the University of Alabama. You're going to hear how the University of Texas had 9 more first downs than the University of Alabama. You're going to learn how the Texas quarterbacks outpassed the defending Heisman Trophy winner. Keep all of that in mind. Fine. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The University of Texas lost. Don't let that get lost on you, the loyal listener of the Bevo Podcast. Texas got beat. We're not here for moral victories. We're not here to sugarcoat it, blow sunshine up anybody's butt. Texas lost to the University of Alabama 2019. Kevin, what do you think about that? Does that get you fired up?
Okay.
Does that get you fired up?
Of course, man. It was a great game. All right. First thing I want to hit on is the atmosphere in Austin yesterday. Okay. Texas fans, kind of like OU fans, kind of get a bad rap for the home atmosphere in the stadium just being okay. For more spectators and, die hard, stand up on your feet, yelling the whole time type fans. Not yesterday.
Nope.
They broke an attendance record, over 105,000 fans there. Will Anderson said after the game, we talked a lot about him in the preview episode, that it was the craziest environment that he'd ever played in.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, first of all, the fans it was insane. And the pictures from pregame, the pictures on Twitter, at game day, at Big Fox, our Big Noon Kickoff. I mean, y'all had fans lining up, camping. When's the last time that happened for a UT home game?
I don't even know if that happened for the LSU game, because that was a night game. The LSU game back in 2019. But again, that was a night game, so I don't think it had that kind of buzz that early in the morning. I mean, the student section was full at 9 o'clock.
Your fans brought it. One fan in particular made my stomach turn. I forget that Kevin Durant went to UT because he only played there for one year. But the sight of Kevin Durant, it just sickens me. He's such a douche.
Well, y'all are just mad because he left. So y'all just can't get over it.
No, I'm not over it. You're right. 100%. I am not over it.
Y'all got to move on for your own health, for your own well-being.
Mm-mm. Well, I thought when we drafted Chet Holmgren that everything was going to change, but then whatever. Anyway, back to the game. Take us through that first quarter. I mean, it was almost a dream start for Texas. Almost.
Listen, we again on our preview episode we talked about this. What I wanted to see, I wanted them to come out firing from the opening kickoff, and that's exactly what happened. Quinn Ewers, I think he showed everybody. I've been telling you about this kid for a while, and why he should be the starter, even over the more experienced Hudson Card. This kid came out with no fear at all. No fear whatsoever.
Dude, he was slinging the ball, man.
Yeah.
And it looked really, it looked effortless. Like, it didn't look like he's ripping. It just looked like he was slinging it. This is not a comparison. I'm not saying he looks like he's the next whatever. I'm just saying the way he slung the ball in almost a casual manner, had an Aaron Rodgers-esque quality to it in the sense that it just looked really easy. He's not Aaron Rodgers, but it just looked really, really easy, you know?
Not. But yeah, it's effortless. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he can, that long pass he had to Worthy on their second drive, right? I mean, he's at the 40-yard line. It's one-on-one coverage. He just launches it, and it's perfectly right in stride. I mean, this dude is.
How about Worthy making the catch with the guy hanging onto his face mask?
Grabbing his face mask. I mean, listen. I mean, you remember the rivalry shootout last year? This guy had 261 yards as a true freshman.
Dude, Gus
honestly has a more talented quarterback getting him the ball. As much as I love Casey Thompson, I mean, Gus is just a significantly talented player.
Gus Johnson loved Xavier Worthy. He called him the next D.D. Westbrook. And
he said Hollywood Brown, actually.
Hollywood Brown. And it's obvious that those comparisons are justified, I think. I don't think that's unreasonable at all. Let's start with that first drive where you get end up with the field goal. Pass interference in the end zone.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, I'm not one to ever come on and blame the refs or anything. But yeah, I mean, McKinstry, who's a great corner, he's not facing the ball. He has both hands on Jatavian Sanders' jersey, who, again, we talked about in the preview episode as being a mismatch for Alabama.
I thought Alabama's game plan was to be as rough as possible with the receivers, and they got away with a lot.
They did. They got away with a lot, especially in the first half. I mean, they were really grabby. I think one of the craziest things is it showed that Texas receivers, they couldn't handle them. The Alabama DBs could not stay with the Texas receivers at all. If you look back, there were guys running wide open.
That takes you to your second drive. And
that first drive, that's the one that ended in that Quinn had, or that Xavier Worthy dropped the touchdown pass.
Yeah. Dude, listen.
Deep pass was a great throw.
That would have been the perfect start for you guys. Who knows what would have happened from then, but that would have been a perfect start. But you get the ball back. You make that great pass down the sideline, and he does the right thing by throwing it away. I don't know who missed the coverage, who missed the pass block, but he got rocked by Dallas Turner. Yeah. Do we have an update on his condition?
Last I heard that Sark said in the press conference that he had a sprained clavicle. He's going to have it. They don't know how severe it is. He's going to have an MRI.
So we've heard
nothing since then.
Dude, it looked
bad.
It did not look good. And
no.
It's his non-throwing shoulder. You hope he can come back, in like 3 weeks or whatever that number is.
Yeah.
You hope he can come back, but golly, dude, he got rocked. And I got to be honest with you. I tweeted out that it was, you could tell without viewers, you were reminded that Texas was a 5-7 team last year because they had to go really conservative that first couple drives after that. But then Hudson Card really stabilized the ship and really kept it a ball game. I give him a lot of credit.
And remember, he got injured early in the second quarter too. I mean, the guy can barely run. He can barely move. And then, the later it got in the game, he couldn't even throw the football well. He couldn't push off when throwing the ball downfield.
You've got it tied 10-10. They make just a crazy play.
The Jason McClellan, who we talked about in the preview episode, former OU commit. I mean, it was a great run by him and kind of a bad angle by our middle linebacker, Jalen Ford. Once he got to the edge, and you knew he was gone, man.
He was gone.
Not catching this guy from behind. Yeah,
so
great run.
But you respond with a really good drive, and you're at the end of the second quarter, and you've moved it all the way down the field, and you are in scoring position. I think you've got a little bit of time there. I'm frustrated if I'm a Texas fan that you didn't go to Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, with the timeout.
Yeah. You got to put it in the hand. I say this about Oklahoma too. You got to put it in the hands of your playmakers, your best players. Any regret they didn't go for it?
A little bit, yeah. In hindsight, especially, yeah. It would have been nice to see him just try to see if they can get a pass off
What about did you like the call though when it happened to just kick the field goal, take the lead into halftime?
I understood with 2 seconds left, just get the lead. At this point, no one expects you to be close anyway. So to go into halftime potentially with a 3-point lead against Alabama, you'll take it. Again, it could have been more. It should have been more.
I think you make the kick. Yeah. I think you make the kick, and it's a non-issue because I think even Texas receives the ball in the second half. So,
correct.
You think that's the right play. Second half, a slugfest. Just a slugfest. I mean, it looked like Big Ten football, SEC non-offensive football. A little bit, I give a lot of credit to Texas's defense, but Alabama's receivers did not play well for Bryce Young until the end of the game.
No, and again, something we talked about in a previous episode. They had question marks at receiver, right? I mean,
they were not
a team that has had.
They were not in the question. The questions were not answered. The questions were not answered.
Not at all.
Yeah,
or maybe they were. Maybe they just don't have that guy yet.
Their best receiver is Gibbs, and he's your running back.
Yes.
And now that dude
was very good, by the way.
That dude was
really good.
He was everywhere. He was everywhere in the first half, everywhere in the second half.
They don't win the game without him.
No.
His versatility, being able to run routes as a receiver.
What in the world? So, confession, I had a soccer game at 2 p.m. So I'm at the soccer field. Every dad on the field has got their phone out. So we're watching everything. But I did not see the grounding / non-safety until this morning. Like I didn't see the video. I'd heard they were like, it should have been. Holy crap. How is that not a safety? What did I miss on the breakdown, on the rules breakdown, on the telecast? What am I missing that's not a safety? It looked like his elbow was down.
Okay, so watching it live, I mean, T'Vondre Sweat, Texas defensive tackle, just tears through the Bama offensive line. They get Bryce Young, swinging him down. They fall down. He's on top of him. Now, normally in that situation, if you're a running back or a receiver, they let that play go. But every time I've seen it, if you have a quarterback down like that, the whistle immediately blows. He's down.
Yeah, in the grass or whatever. Yeah.
Well, he goes down. As he's down, he looked like he was already down. He throws the ball away. Texas fans are going nuts. We think the play is over. It's a safety. Everybody's celebrating. Gus Johnson's yelling that it's a safety. Well, all of a sudden, you see the flag icon come up on the bottom of the Fox graphics. You see the refs talking to each other. Ref comes out and calls personal foul, roughing the passer with targeting on Texas linebacker DeMarvion Overshown. Everybody's like, targeting? We're like, what? They show the replay. There's no targeting. There's no roughing the passer. So the ref goes, reviews the play. He's at that monitor for what feels like 10 minutes. Okay, he comes back and he announces that there was no targeting. And then that the call was explained to him wrong by the other official. So there's no roughing the passer. They were only reviewing for targeting. There is no targeting. It's fourth down. So I'm like, okay, well, what about the safety? So apparently what they're saying is, since they were just reviewing for targeting, they never called intentional grounding on the field live as it happened. Therefore, you can't go back and review intentional grounding. So instead of it being 2 points, it just became a punting situation. It was fourth down, and Bama got the punt.
I'm sorry. I hate the University of Texas. I do not want y'all to win any games. But you have got to be the hugest Alabama homer in the world to not admit that is asinine. Asinine.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you have replay for if you can't judge what occurred on the field?
I agree. Yeah.
It's just insane. In addition, what do you need replay for to see what 105,000 people saw, including the defense and the offense? Alabama walks off with their heads down knowing that it's a safety.
Correct. Big 12 refs, mind you.
No. I saw some stuff on there on Twitter last night about how Texas is ready to leave just because of the refs, whatever. But it was honestly like you were playing it. Those refs felt like you were playing in Alabama. From the pass interference calls to that call, you got, not only did you not get home cooking, or you didn't get home cooking, but you felt like they were guarding against it or something. Like it was so odd.
It was really odd, yeah.
And you know what? When you do home and homes, don't you usually do either a neutral crew or the SEC crew does it at the Big 12 stadium and the Big 12 and at the Big 12?
Yeah, but when I saw the ref the first time, I'm like, I've seen this guy before. This looks like a Big 12 ref. I was fully expecting SEC refs yesterday, and probably would have preferred it.
You get the lead. They score. You go back. You get your field goal, which is a big time field goal, especially after the miss, 49 yards. But were you like everybody on the soccer sidelines with me saying that is too much time for Bryce Young?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's one of those things, right? You really can't. You couldn't help that if you were Texas, right? It was fourth down. So right? It's not like they,
So was there no
touchdown like real quick?
Well, what happened? Yeah. Give me the. I want to know. Did Sarkisian have any opportunity to manage the clock better, or is that where he was?
No, because there was one mistake on the first down. They got into plus territory. They handed off to the running back, Roschon Johnson. He made a pretty good run. Well, he went out of bounds. About a minute and 30 seconds left. He went out of bounds on first down. I thought he should have stayed in bounds to force Alabama to start using their timeouts. Okay. He didn't. So anyway, second down, we run the ball, timeout. And then on third down, we go for a pass. Nobody's open. They cover it well. Bijan slips, who was going to block Will Anderson and probably would have blocked Will Anderson. He slipped going towards Anderson. Anderson gets his one and only sack of the game. Really the only moment he was in the backfield. We'll come back to that, though.
Yeah.
And so it's fourth down. They called a timeout. It's a 49-yard field goal. There was no other option there but to kick the field goal with that amount of time left. So
you just, though, had the sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. No question about it.
That once given Bryce Young that opportunity, that you weren't going to. All you had to do was a field goal. And
yeah, it just needed a field goal.
It needed a field goal. I got to tell you, it was a heck of a game for the fans. It was a heck of a game for Texas.
It was.
Really was. The law. Let me ask you this. Here's a question: which hurts worse? The potential loss of viewers for significant time, or the 1 point loss by Alabama? The 1 point loss to Alabama.
Oh, the loss of viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you saw in that first quarter what he's capable of. This is a kid in his second start of his career, going up against the best defense in the country, and just was lights out throwing the football.
I want to talk about Anderson from Alabama because you said it. I thought it the same. He got 2 penalties on him in the first quarter for offsides. And then you didn't really hear his name called a lot. Like he was not either Texas was scheming against him and we just couldn't tell, or he just was having a bad game. But what did you see?
Okay, first off, we thought the difference in this game was going to be the fact that Texas offensive line had no chance whatsoever to block Will Anderson or Dallas Turner.
Right.
Okay, I have never been more wrong about anything. The offensive line, as far as pass blocking, that was the best performance I've seen from them in a very long time against a quality opponent.
Yeah.
Will Anderson and Dallas Turner were virtual non-factors in the game.
Except for the injury and that 49-yard. Yeah.
Dallas Turner, the only thing I remember him doing is injuring Quinn Ewers, which is obviously a huge deal, but I thought he was going to be in the backfield all day, and he just wasn't. Texas actually showed something in their first game. They have an offensive lineman named Andre Carrick. He was the starting left tackle at one point. Kelvin Banks, a true freshman, won the left tackle job. So what they did, I noticed this in the first game, is they would put Andre Carrick on the field wearing number 92 and use him as another tight end.
Okay,
so he played a lot in that game, and they would put him on the side of one of those edge rushers, usually Will Anderson, almost like a big H-back. Also, they would put a tight end over there. So they were double teaming Will Anderson all day. But the Texas offensive line, from a pass blocking standpoint, like I said, I haven't seen them play better. To have those two guys I think Will Anderson's the best defensive player in the country. I think he'll be a top 5 pick. I think Dallas Turner will too when his time comes. He's a year younger than Anderson. But they were complete non-factors from a pass rushing standpoint until Will Anderson sacked Hudson Card literally right before Texas kicked that field goal late in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it.
You take a step back. Take a step back. You've had a day. You're almost 24 hours removed from kickoff. Is there a way to look at it? Did Alabama have a bad game? Texas have a good game? Are both true?
I think both are true. But here's the thing, though. Alabama played a lot of mistakes, but I think Texas had a lot to do with those mistakes. The atmosphere had a lot to do with it. And Texas's game plan, I still think this, almost 24 hours later, I thought Texas was a better coached team out there.
Well,
I don't know what Alabama's game plan was.
It sure did look that way from a penalty standpoint. I mean, the penalties killed Alabama, especially in the first quarter. Texas will look back at this game as missed opportunities.
Correct.
The drop by Xavier Worthy, the pass interference, and remember that interception. Was that in the second quarter, first quarter, or second quarter? There was a really easy interception that Texas dropped.
Deshaun Jameis in the corner. Yeah.
And I think that dude is still running if he picks that off.
I agree. I think he scores too.
And so it's just this what if is going to – the question is going to be, and we'll talk more about this next week, is will there be a hangover? Did you give Alabama your best shot and you're kind of like – what's the right word? You're kind of punch drunk from it, because I think that's kind of a little bit what happened to Notre Dame, where you give Goliath your best shot against Ohio State. I mean, you go all out. We'll talk about it. I don't want to get too much into it, but UTSA is not a bad team.
No, not at all.
Or conversely, we just went toe to toe with Alabama for 60 minutes and should have won the game. So I'm fascinated to see how Texas responds.
Okay, well, I mean, they went toe-to-toe with Alabama and should have won the game. But again, it doesn't mean much for me going forward. Now, again, if we see that same type of effort and intensity on a weekly basis, that's a team that's going to be very hard to beat by anybody in the Big 12.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
But again, are we going to see that? I thought that after the OU game last year, after the rivalry shootout, okay, we punched them, they punched back, eventually they won, but hey, we got what it takes to hang with every team in the Big 12, and then we end up going 5-7 and losing to Kansas at home.
I also think the advantage that Texas had is that he could game plan for Alabama for 4 months.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean,
he even said the game plan was done 3 months ago.
Yeah. So it just gives you a really distinct advantage early in the year. We'll see. Hey, Kevin, before we talk about the University of Oklahoma, let's give you a reminder that we are sponsored by Adjusters for the Insured, Brown O'Haver. They are the Alabama of public adjusting in that they will take your best shot from the insurance. They will take the best shot from the insurance company and still come out on top. If you have been getting the runaround from your insurance company over a property loss, fire, wind, claim, theft, vandalism, tornado, give Brown O'Haver a call, 405-735-5510. Let them fight for you, not the insurance company. Let them get you more money. Kevin, switching.
Real quick, hold on, before we switch.
All right, I'm going to give you one last word.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to the Texas defense, man. Again, we clowned these guys all last year, and deservedly so, okay? The way they played yesterday against the run, they gave up an 81-yard run on the second drive of the game.
Yeah.
You're thinking, okay, here we go, right? Here we go. They allowed 3 yards of carry on every other run besides that 81-yard run by Jace McCloud.
The defense looked good. I've got the game taped. I'm going to go back and look at it some more. But I still contend that a lot of it was, you talk about not really good coaching. I think that's astute. I think that's a good observation, because I don't think the receivers were ever in the right spot for Bryce Young. He made, well, not ever, but he made a lot of throws where he's looking at the receiver like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
One in particular was, I think, in the second quarter where he should have just settled there, right? You know what I'm talking about? And he just keeps running. And Bryce Young is like, so I don't know. I don't want to take anything away from you guys. I thought y'all played it. I thought you played a great game. It's just, God, dude, we got to win that game. You got to win that game.
Absolutely. All right,
what wasn't a good game was the University of Oklahoma versus Kent State. Just an anemic first half. Nothing offensively. The first 3 drives were 3 and outs. I've got the run the damn ball hat on, but they couldn't run the ball for diddly do. It was it was concerning. That they got it going. I guess there's a look ahead, although I don't know how you're looking ahead to a 1-2 Nebraska team. But it was lackadaisical. To your point about Texas's defense, Oklahoma's defense balled out all game. To only give up 3 points in 2022 is like a virtual shutout. I mean, they won 14-play drive for a field goal, and that was it. And you never really thought they were going to get a touchdown. So we can talk about that. Stutzman, Bowman again had a great game. Grimes again. It's nice to see that 3-level, a playmaker in each of the 3 levels of the defense.
Yeah.
So that's fun. That's exciting. Offensively, though, God. Braden Willis was missing in action. Eric Gray was fine. But again, dude, he was just that same guy he's always been. It's just like.
Yeah. I think at this point, it may be fair to say that this is just who he is. This is what you're going to get.
And you know what? It's not good enough.
Yeah.
And it's not good enough when you've got a Marcus Major who is an explosive play waiting to happen. And he showed you some of that explosion with the touchdown. He had half the carries, but he had more yards per carry. So he's very productive. I started the hashtag yesterday, Start Marcus. Hashtag Start Marcus. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Eric Gray seems to me like he's probably that dude who is just awesome. Who shows up early, stays late, knows every answer in film session, is polite, works hard. The offensive lineman loves him. Everything is rosy. And yet, just give me something, bro. And against Kent State, you got to be able to run the ball because that will probably be. I mean, shit, look at Kansas won. Kansas beat West Virginia. This is probably the weakest defense we're going to see all year, possibly. And it was nothing.
Yeah.
At the end of the first. Well, if you look at his stat line.
Yeah.
If you just look at the box score, kind of like the only recap show I watch now that I do the podcast is I just watch the football final count or what is it? Football final. Yeah, the college football final. Jesse Palmer. And when they show the highlight, it's kind of like what you see when you look at the box score. He went 21 of 28, 296 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a great stat line. It's like, man, that's fantastic. That is not what he looked like in the first half of that game.
Yeah, it was a little rough, right?
Yeah, it just wasn't very good.
Yeah.
It just wasn't very good.
One thing is, though, that Marvin Mims is back.
Marvin Mims. Listen, just fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the play. That's the game that he's got to have. He's got to keep having it. He's going to have to keep having those. He is going to. That has to be not the exception, but the rule. We have to expect 2 touchdowns and 150 yards every week, or we're not going to win games. That's just a fact. He's the best player on the team. He's got to get the ball as much as he can. Last week, I asked for Theo Wees. That's fine. Work him into the game. I was wrong about that take. It needs to be more Marvin Mims.
Yeah, he is that dude. Absolutely.
I'm not wrong about Marcus Major. We need Marcus Major. We need more Marcus Major. Braden Willis, I don't know if they just weren't featuring him. He had one bad drop. Did not look good.
He did. Yeah.
the offense came back with 33 unanswered points and blah, blah, blah. But it's Kent freaking State. It should have been 60 unanswered points. So
yeah, didn't cover. We thought they would both cover. So
there you go. There's the exciting break. Well, go ahead.
I think Danny Stutzman might be the best player on the team.
He's the best player on defense.
This dude is really, really good. And we saw glimpses of it last year. He came into the Red River Shootout and played very well as a true freshman last year. That's a big environment to come in and ball out in.
When you pair Danny Stutzman with Brent Venables, and that's like magic in a bottle. I mean, you look at you'll have to help me with some Clemson linebackers just because I don't know any that right off the top of my head. But you think of Rocky Kalmus and Torrance Marshall and Teddy Lehman and Curtis Lofton. And you're thinking, I mean, those are big time college football players. Yeah. That all had the tutelage of Brent Venables to make them as good as they were or bring out the greatness in them. Stutzman, if not this year, next year, he's a candidate for the linebacker. I mean, he has to be. Buckus Award, absolutely, 100%.
He's really good, man. He's really active. He's all over the field. They use him in coverage too.
All right. I don't really want to talk about the OU game anymore because I just let me just give a couple observations, non-field related. Number one, watching a game on ESPN Plus sucks. I had to watch it through Hulu. If anybody has to watch football on Hulu, I feel sorry for you. Like, invest in YouTube TV because it's crap. You can't switch games very easily. I couldn't see what else was going on. I'm glad that we only have one on ESPN Plus. Number two, though, I thought Ryan Leaf was actually a pretty good announcer. I was impressed with him.
Yeah, he wasn't bad at all.
He wasn't bad at all. I mean, for all the you say Ryan Leaf and all the images that come into your head from Ryan Leaf, him yelling at a dude in the yelling at a dude in the locker room with the Chargers,
having to be restrained by Junior Seau.
That's no joke. Yeah. Rest in peace. And then you've got all his drug issues, and he's a college golf coach, and just all the life of Ryan Leaf is fascinating. And he seemed like a really good dude, really sharp. I liked a lot of his breakdowns. I think for having him be probably, what is he on ESPN's list of? He's got to be like 8th team, if you're calling a Sooner Vision game. But I thought he was pretty good. I mean, I'm still jealous y'all got Joel and Gus. I guess we'll have them next week. Will we have them next week? All right, dude. Let's talk about some other teams, and then we'll talk about our picks. But real quick, I think there's one thing that the hosts of the Bevo Podcast can agree on wholeheartedly. When A&M loses to Appalachian State at Kyle Field, is there anything better in the world?
No, there is not.
Jimbo Fisher, you can suck it. I hate you. I hate A&M. They just look terrible. They have no quarterback.
Yeah, no, they don't.
They haven't had a quarterback since he's been there. And if you don't have a quarterback in college football, you can't win. And here's the thing, they got to have somebody that can play football. So I don't understand what's going on down there, but I freaking love it.
Well, here's the thing, real quick, before we move on.
Sure.
This is a guy who, after Jameis Winston, we just proclaimed that he was a quarterback whisperer. Okay?
Right.
Since then, since Jameis Winston's Heisman season, right, or since Jameis Winston left the year after his Heisman season, he has not had a quarterback that has got over 60% completion percentage and 20 touchdowns in the same season. What are we talking about?
It's insane.
Like, bad quarterbacks who get 60% completion percentage.
Dude, you look at the kid who played. Okay, well, first of all, look at Texas's backup, right? So already your second string quarterback was more productive against what some would always say is the best defense of college football. Was more productive. What's that? On a bum leg. Good, fair point. On a bum leg. Then A&M starter against Appalachian State. Then you've got the kid who didn't score any touchdowns against Oklahoma at Kent State. That dude was running all over the place. A&M would take him in a minute. Yes. It's fascinating. You've got the number one recruiting class by a mile, historically the greatest, NIL, whatever, it doesn't matter. Number one recruiting class by a mile. You can't find a kid that can throw the ball against Appalachian State.
There were concerns last week too.
Well, and look at
they played Sam Houston and they couldn't move the football.
And it's not like App State is a juggernaut App State team. They gave up 60 and lost to North Carolina. So
65, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're not sitting here. Appalachian State is like some hidden defensive gem. No. App State is a fine football team. They're going to be 9 and whatever, 10 and whatever, and
in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They're going to be great. But, jeez, all right.
Yeah, you can't lose to them at home.
Another shocking loss. But when you think about it in terms of framing it against, you gave your best shot, and then you have to play another game the next week. Notre Dame, first time Notre Dame.
Man.
It's bad, dude. At home, both of these games are at home.
At home, yeah.
Notre Dame.
The offense.
It's yes.
Listen, I think Marcus Freeman made a mistake. Okay, it's kind of like when Lincoln Riley became head coach. He kept Mike Stoops on.
You think keeping Tommy? You think keeping Tommy Rees was a mistake?
Correct. Yeah, it just looks like a worse version of Brian Kelly's offense. I don't know what they're trying to do. There's no real creativity out there. You can't scheme guys open like Sark can, like Levy can. Guys were running open yesterday for OU, right?
Oh yeah.
You think Riley can run? Scheme guys open.
Dude, listen, we're not going to talk about that game, but they beat down Stanford. Caleb Williams looked like a stud. Jordan, they look like they've got weapons from.
Mario Williams, man. They got dudes.
Sucks so bad. Oh my God.
They're gonna be tough in the Pac-12.
I mean, they're playing in front of like 5,000 fans, but still, they're just killing people. Well, the crazy, what I foresee happening is them going like 7-0 until they have to play Utah. I think that's. I thought Notre Dame would beat them. I don't know. If Notre Dame can't score, they might not be able to beat them.
That's the problem. Yeah, I mean, they might be able to play well defensively because Marcus Freeman, but they gave up 165 yards rushing to Marshall's running back there.
I tell you, we'll talk about it next. We'll talk about it on the next episode. If I'm Texas fan, I am concerned to have that same sort of hangover going into UTSA because UTSA is a fast team. They're different than Alabama. They're not going to hit you in the mouth, but they're going to cut you by a million paper cuts. And I'm just out there in the universe.
Listen, and that's a reason why while I'm proud of their effort yesterday, I'm not saying that, this is going to mean we're going to win the Big 12 or do this and this next year. I want to see how they play next week. We'll have more. Then they got to go to Lubbock after that. We'll know more then.
Lubbock had a good win. Texas Tech had a good win against Houston.
That was pretty gutty.
Nebraska. Ugh.
Did you watch the end of that?
No, I didn't. Who cares about Nebraska? I mean, what are they doing, dude? I mean,
Georgia Southern.
And here's the problem, right? So now Oklahoma is in a no-win situation, right? They have to win, and they have to almost win big because that's their marquee game. And it's just you're playing a 1-2 game. Oh my gosh, dude, it's so bad.
They lose to Georgia Southern at home.
They should be
42 points.
They should be.
Did you know Clay Helton was their head coach? Remember Clay Helton, the one who got fired for USC? Yeah, he's their head coach. Georgia Southern.
Well, he didn't look bad.
They lit it up.
Didn't Georgia Southern give somebody a game in the first week?
I think they did. I just don't remember who. They used to run a triple option before it had. Oh no, not anymore. They had 55 passing attempts.
Hold on just a second. I feel like they gave them a game. That's crazy. 45 points. Unbelievable. Let's see. Well, they just played one game and they killed whoever they had, Morgan State or whatever. So no, I must be thinking of a different team.
Yeah, maybe Georgia State.
But anyway, so let me ask you this question before we get to our picks. If you think about the scope of college football yesterday, did anybody look good? I thought it was more the weekend of everybody looking bad.
Yeah, a lot of the top teams did not look good. As far as covering spreads, I don't think anybody in the top 10.
Kentucky got a good win. That was one of our picks. You lost.
You lost. Yeah.
I won. Great win for Mark Stoops, the winningest coach. Here's what's interesting, though. I'm not picking on Kentucky. I'm picking on Kentucky a little bit, but like when you think of programs like Oklahoma and Texas, and you find out that the winningest coach at Kentucky only has 61 wins.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma has 4 coaches with 100 wins.
Yeah.
And Texas, I don't know what Mac and Deke. What did Mac and Darryl Royal? I mean, well over 100 wins, right?
Oh
So
yeah, both of them. Yeah.
it's just, is Mac winning his coach, or is it still DKR?
Mac is.
Yeah, and so it's just interesting to me. It's like, man, 60 wins. Golly, I think not very impressed. That reminds me of one time when I ran a race. When Alice would make me run races, and we actually did a 4.2 mile run. It's a weird number because it was the Pat Tillman Memorial Run at Arizona State.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Right, number 42.
Mm-hmm.
And you run around the stadium, and then you finish, which was really cool, inside the stadium on the 42-yard line.
Wow.
And that was a really cool experience. I'm not picking on them, but it's just interesting when you talk about programs and you look up and around their banners, they've got like the Garden State Bowl is one of the things they are happy about winning. And you're like, Garden State Bowl?
Yeah.
If Oklahoma ever put the Garden State Bowl up, oh my gosh. So yeah, I don't think anybody looked good yesterday. Georgia had a nobody. They beat them down. I think Georgia probably jumps number 1, right? Pretty easily.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Alabama probably goes number 2, but they won. But they've got issues.
They do. This might have exposed a few weaknesses there. We'll see if anybody else is able to exploit it or if they just go nuts the rest of the season.
Ohio State's win is brought into question with the Notre Dame loss, but they'll probably hold firm at 3.
Yeah.
Number 4. Who was number 4 going into this last week? And we don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let me pull that up real quick.
Yeah, pull up the top 10 last week, just real quick.
Okay.
While you're doing that, let me recap our picks. We were 4-2 going into the week. Kevin, 1-2 yesterday. Rough day.
Rough day at the office.
My Sooners let you down, and the Kentucky Wildcats. John, 2-1, jumps up to 5-3 on the year. Lost Oklahoma because they played like crap, but won with a big Kentucky win. John is 5-3. So if you are waiting to get some picks next week, they'll be out on Wednesday night, Thursday morning when we post our pregame.
Okay.
I'm giving out free picks, Kevin. Free picks.
Okay,
free picks. 3 free picks will be given out on the pregame. Well, who was the top 10 real quick? Real quick.
Bama and Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan was 4.
Michigan looked good.
Yeah, Clemson. Yeah.
I'm not sold on Ugalele. He's just okay.
Is he okay? Is Dabo gonna pull the plug on DJ and go to the freshman Cade Klubnik, 5-star freshman from Austin?
Well, didn't he did that with what's his name, right? With
Kelly Bryant and for Trevor Lawrence.
Well, listen, Kelly Bryant was a way better quarterback than Ugalele's ever been. So if he was willing to pull the trigger then, I think he'd pull it. I mean, doesn't he have one more kind of runaround game next week before they get into conference play? I would. Okay, who was number 5?
Okay, Clemson was 5. A&M was 6.
You suck, Clemson. You suck, A&M. I love it.
OU was 7. Notre Dame was 8. They're 0-2 now. Baylor was number 9.
They got beat overtime.
They lost overtime at BYU. And USC was 10.
Wow. So you could potentially have Oklahoma and USC ranked together. And one might be ranked over the other.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's going to jump up to, if I'm listening right, to 6.
I would say number 6, yeah.
And USC could jump up to 7?
Yeah.
And based on voters and eye test, it could even be reversed.
Oklahoma State's going up into the top 10 as well.
Yeah, that was a good win against it. That was a good win against Arizona State. Oklahoma State does this crap, man. This is the problem. Oklahoma State's a good team. They're a good program. Mike Gundy's a good coach. Until they do something stupid in the year, inevitably. So, but Spencer Sanders is like a 9th-year senior. And he's got to get better just by law of averages. It looks like he has. But they'll do something stupid. Dude, listen. Not the best weekend of football. Not week 1 by any stretch of the imagination of college football. But the Bama-Texas game was fascinating. And I think as we kind of listen to more of the recap, now that I'm going to get online and read some more, I think it's going to just unravel even more as to the ramifications of that game. As a fan, though, I'm going to give you the last word on this week.
Well, again, I'm proud of the way they competed. It is a gut punching loss though, for sure, because they could have won and probably should have won against a good team. Again, I'm not blaming the refs for the result. It did play a part, but I think Texas just left a couple of plays out there that they could have made and could have swung the game into their favor. Like I said, I'm fascinated to see how they respond to this. Do they use this as fuel and say, "Hey, this is what we can be. Let's play like this all season," or do we see what happened last year where they kind of start doubting themselves and clutch moments? Although the difference for me between this game and what we saw last year is that last year they kind of beat themselves, right? They always would fold, give up these huge plays defensively. They never did that.
Mm.
They never did that yesterday. So I mean, Ryan
one,
Watts.
One big play. You had one big play
Ryan
yesterday.
Watts makes that sack on that incredibly called and executed corner blitz. And it's a great play by Bryce Young. But if he finishes that, they're out of field goal range, and they have to use their last timeout. So who knows what happens to them? So it's a game of inches. So we'll see if they can use that as motivation going forward. Like I hope they can.
All right. Well, Oklahoma was supposed to have a big game next week. We'll still talk about it. Oklahoma and Nebraska, about the furthest thing away from the game of the century that you can have between two storied programs. But I'm looking forward to it. Ref Army, you brought it a little bit. 4 new subscribers to the YouTubes. Got to get more. I need more subscribers. Look at this shirt I'm wearing. Look how old it is. It's wrinkly. It's raggedy. I need a new shirt. You're probably saying to yourself, John, you look like an affluent guy. You can buy shirts. I can buy whatever I want. The point is, I want my wife to buy it for me. I want my wife to buy Kevin a new shirt. So please, if you've ever wanted your wife to buy new gear, throw some karma out in the world and subscribe to YouTube for us. Kevin, where else can they catch us?
You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Stitcher. Anywhere you look for podcasts, we're there.
And of course, the Ref Podomatic page, KREF Podomatic. We appreciate those guys for putting us up there every week.
Absolutely.
Kevin, great week. We'll see you in a couple, 3 days. Boomer.
Welcome.